Hey everybody, welcome to another video on Illustrator Basics for laser cutting. I'm your host, Stevie, and today we're going to learn how to very vaguely mess with pictures to cut them on the laser cutter. It's pretty easy to copy and paste things and then just hit print and go on to cutting it, but it's another thing to have the image look good on the other side. So before you start trying to engrave different pictures all over the web, let me try to get you into the right mindset of what pictures you should be looking for. As you hopefully know, you can't really engrave something in color. When you engrave something, you're quite literally burning the material, so you're cutting by using some patterns. So color images are always going to be grayscaled when they're sent to the laser cutter. So going for the prettiest, most colorful image isn't always the best option. And here's kind of what I mean. So over here, I have this very big, colorful explosion here, and you can see there's a lot of different colors. And to show you it doesn't really work out too well, I basically hit print. And when I did so, this is what the laser cutter showed up with. So it's just kind of this gray mess here, and you can't really see nearly as many colors here. So this is something you would probably want to avoid. When a picture is grayscaled like this, the lighter tones are engraved at a lighter intensity and power from the darker colors. So they will be differentiated, but based on how well you can actually tell between the colors remains to be seen. And that kind of relies on your skills with Illustrator and Photoshop. So pay no attention to like the little tiny like graininess that you may see in this image. If you actually notice, it's a type of dithering, but you don't really have to worry about that right now. I'll go over that in a different video. So at that point, you may be wondering, okay, well, if I go over in the settings here, there's all of these different colors, what are they even for? And I'm glad you asked. So different colors shown on the laser cutter manual are rather different settings on the same cut if you wanted to engrave something more deeply than another thing. So to use different colors, I did so here. So what I did here was you have to specify a CMYK or a different RGB color, and let's say this text fill. So in this text fill, I made sure that I was using CMYK green, and then it's an exact green, or as the laser cutter sees it, it's the exact color for green. So when I go hit print, these two colors should be differentiated from each other. And when you do that, you should see something like this. And you'll see that one text is Stevie Lemon and the other text is Stevie Lemon, except this one's green. And so if you go over in the settings, you can actually adjust green to be a totally different power and speed setting, and you may find that useful. So say if you're, making a picture frame for someone and you were engraving different things, and this green could have their name on it and it can be deeper engraved. So you might find that useful. So the more practical use of these colors, though, probably comes from actual vector cutting, and that's probably what you'll use the different colors for entirely. So again, I have this little pre-made little name tag here, and if you don't remember how to make a vector cut, all you have to do is just make a box of some sort, or find the path, make the appearance not have any fill at all, make sure the strokes color is RGB or CMYK red, and the point size is 0.072, and again, you'll know you did it right if that red looks a little faded like it does right here. And then the other color on this image is just going to be black. And so if we go over back to the UCP, we'll see, yes, that is the case in which this red is operating as a different type of laser almost entirely. It's a vector cut of sorts, and so these two colors will be treated entirely differently, which is probably what you want. All right, so back to the point. We want to have an image from Google come out all right. So for the image to actually come out okay, or the image to come out really clearly, you want to try working with black and white images as much as possible. That's not to say it's impossible to have a really clear high color image, because you totally can. It just takes a bit more tinkering with settings, which I'll get into in a later video. But if you don't want to get into the nitty-gritty, here's all you really have to know. So to start off with, certain file types won't successfully go over to the UCP, so it's in your best interest to work in vector file types like, say, SVG or silhouette images whenever possible. JPEGs and PNGs are usually fine, but sometimes when you have a bunch of JPEGs and PNGs, they can give you an error when you try to send it over to the laser cutter. So if all you're trying to do is just engrave one image onto something, you can probably ignore the next topic I'm going to talk about, which is image tracing. What image tracing is it converts the file type as the image becomes vectorized. But you may want to pay attention because a lot of times it does make the image come out a heck of a lot better than you would otherwise expect it to. So, tune in every. Anyway, so let's get to it. Let's go to Google and find an image to cut out. So here you can see where I looked up the color explosion. That doesn't matter for now. I'm going to use the cop-out that I usually go for. If you've ever been to any of my other trainings, I'll do the GodTech ECE logo because it actually works out very well. So this is the logo I'm going to try to engrave here or send to the laser cutter, and I'm just going to copy the image. I'm going to go back to Illustrator and paste it. Oh my gosh, that's really big, but that's okay because you actually know how the selection tool works, hopefully. So we can just scale this down to, let's say, a more manageable 5x5 image, but now it's off the screen, but that's also okay. You're used to this by now. We'll make it 5x5 in the middle, and there you have it. There's the image. So, yeah, we'll see a couple things here. When we select the image with the selection tool, we'll see a bunch of quick actions here. You see mask, crop image, image trace. The image trace is eventually what we're going to get to. But if you add an image that has a bunch of things that you don't want, be sure to crop it first. The image tracing step is usually going to be the last thing. But if you don't find it here, under quick actions, both cropping and image tracing should be found under object. So the image trace should be right there. And cropping should be around here as well. Oh yes, there it is. So just remember that if it's not under quick actions. It's usually under quick actions as long as you just copy and paste it. If you save the image then place it, you might have to mess with, you might have to go over to the object settings. So before we image trace, remember that there's a chance that the image will look worse if you do image trace, and if that's the case, remember you certainly don't always have to image trace. It just helps prevent possible errors in the long run if you're using a lot of pictures together. If you image trace just about every picture that you're putting onto an engravable surface, it'll always work. Okay, so let's just try to image trace to see how the image looks from the get-go. And as soon as you hit image trace here, you're given a bunch of options of what you want. Like I said, you kind of want to avoid color whenever possible. So we'll see a couple presets to go for. So we'll try black and white because black and white whenever possible is perfect for clarity. If you're doing shades of gray, everything here would be, so say we did shades of gray. Let me hit OK. So we'll wait for it to load. So the biggest problem with shades of gray here is if you notice, everything's actually a shade of gray. Well, when this is engraved with the laser cutter, everything here actually gets engraved. So everything here will just kind of look like a gray mess. This will be engraved, the black will obviously be engraved, but this will just be a lighter engraving than here. But again, the buzz will kind of be hard to see because everything's just kind of a gray mess. You'll be able to see it fine, but it could have been better if we do black and white. And you should be able to already kind of see what I mean if we do black and white. So here, all of the white is just not engraved at all. The only thing that is engraved is the black, showing a really high contrast between the two colors, and you should be able to see this buzz very, very, very well when you actually go and cut it. So again, just be sure to do black and white whenever possible. And that's basically how you prepare just about any image. Now, I will warn you, not all images are this easy. I usually just go with the Gotek ECE Buzz because I know it's going to work every time, and I always do it. You could run into pictures that will look worse when you image trace them. I don't have a picture off the top of my head that's not going to look good. We can try one right now. I'm going to look up, I guess, lemons, because my last name is Lemon, and it's just lemon. So I'm sure if we image trace this, it probably won't look that well because it's a really bright color. So we'll go copy image and just paste it right here. So let's try to image trace this and see what happens. So yeah, if you try to image trace that, it almost kind of looks worse if you just make it black and white. But let's see how the shade of gray work looks. It's not too bad. You can see everything, and that's probably how it'll actually look on the laser cutter. So this one might actually work better. And if none of the image tracing is working, you can always try, to hit Control Z, and it'll be returned to normal. But before you image trace, you can also try to go to Edit and go to Edit Colors and convert to grayscale before you hit black and white, and maybe that'll help sometimes. No, it was even worse. But for some pictures, if you hit edit colors and start messing around here, the image trace could come out just a little better. But that's basically how you get just about any image from Google. Again, you can just really copy and paste images, but the very least that you want to do is go to edit colors and convert to grayscale, or else you're trusting the laser cutter to do it for you, and Illustrator is a much better graphics tool than the built one and the UCP, so just bear that in mind. And if you can, try to image trace it. It'll save you a lot of pain later, but again, you certainly don't have to. But that's basically it. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it was informative. I understand that this one may have been a little dicey too. I'm sorry. I sure did try my best, but yeah. And then one last thing: when you vectorize an image, you actually broke down the image to its vector components, so you could actually mess with a lot of the inner buzz workings in here if you wanted to. But that's just a little side comment. But thanks for stopping by. Okay, peace.